Hello there, folks.
Hi there.
Uh, we're finally back. This is the first episode of this year 2023.
That's
Um,
true.
yeah, so I'm sorry for not being able to record sooner, but of course there were several holidays and a trip to US in
Oh, really?
January for like 2 weeks. So yeah, that's been there, and of course, the best gift I could get from US when I came back, uh, gift in quotes, very bad gift, actually. So
It's all right.
uh,
Tuberculosis never hurt anyone.
it's not tuberculosis, but yeah, but yeah, sadly I got sick from. So when I came back, I wasn't able to. My voice wasn't in the best condition, so I wasn't able to talk too much. And here I am. Hopefully, my voice will last through the whole episode. Because yeah, no, it's much better now than it was
And
before.
I can always fill the void if it doesn't.
Yeah. Can you do my voice? Can you do my impression?
I don't know that I want to debut it right here.
All right. Hey, no. All right, but we're here to talk about the convention that happens once a year, and this the Dice Tower Cruise, and it's been the Dice Tower Cruise 2023
It
that
has.
happened during January, and this is your like what is it? So this is your usual cruise with all the things and shenanigans of the let's say Royal Caribbean cruise that you can find. This is a vacation, the ship, the ports you can visit, etc.
Wait, what?
And yeah, hot tubs, ocean, whatever things, karaoke's, and whatever you can do on the boat. But there's also, while we're cruising, there's also a particular event called the Dice Tower Cruise, the Dice Tower Convention kind of a thing, where we have an access to the extensive library that Dice Tower has, so we can play all day long, and we can play all the new stuff because the library is constantly renewed with the games. uh, it's very big. There's a lot to play. You can always find something to play. You can always find some of your favorites there. If you are not certain you will find one of your favorites, if there are some quirky games, you can always take some games with you and play them as well. Or
That's
maybe
true.
some of the games that are hot table games that are constantly taken and played. So if you have a copy, you can take it with you and you'll become a popular hot table yourself. Like Kyle did one of the games that we'll talk about later.
You can take it with you and you'll become a popular.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I can hear myself. And hello to Daniel as well. Um, so so overly, this is not a convention where you can buy games or anything like that. This is not Gen Con. This is not Essen. This is all about gaming. They do have sponsors, and the sponsors are more convenient during the shows. Dice World also does some shows and game shows, and some entertainment where they can also give out prizes to the contestants who participate in that particular game show, etc. Yeah, so there are some
That's
extra
true.
events beside gaming, but the most you do is you game. And I've been asked if we are too much in the way of the usual cruisers, the general crowd. And to be honest, I think it's organized so well that, I mean, on the ship, of course, we encounter various people, but those people are usually, and throughout the years, I've seen that they are more like excited about this, and they ask about what's this, what's that? Ooh, you play games? Well, they're not like, ooh, you play games, No, they are more excited about that. Plus, all the rooms that we have are private. They are separated. They are rented for this particular event. And usually when we have a dinner, we are seated on the same floor all together, etc.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
I
this
mean, We do take over some of the areas. For example, a lot of the upstairs sort of buffet dining room was taken over by our group, but I mean, with some
It's
parameters, so other people could still use it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's taken over at the time when there is no food. Let's say there's no dinner or lunch, etc. So we
Yeah,
usually it's during the night time, so we can play further after the dinner. So
and
and
I would equate it to any other of the specialty cruises that exist, right? I mean, there you might find the country music cruise or the various other whatever specialty groups that get on
yeah,
a ship together that will kind of do the same thing, and you might notice them if you look for them or if you hang out kind of where they are. Otherwise, most people just kind of hang out by the pool or do whatever regular people do on a cruise. I don't do those things. I just play games.
yeah, yeah. And what I want to also mention is so these conventions. This is not only Dystro Cruise. There might be some other various conventions, and also if I can only talk about the experience of my local game convention in Estonia, board game camp, kind of thing. This is all about you socializing, you going to the other players' tables. There are those flag systems where players needed, teacher needed, kind of a thing. So you can always go if there's teacher needed, the game, go teach that game, uh, and you can maybe also play with those people. Um, if the table's not
Those
full,
people.
yeah, those people. But yeah, it's all about socialing. It's all about finding new friends, and I would say cruise friends, because with some of the folks that I see them once a year on the
Yep.
cruise, it's like gathering of old friends kind of a feel, where I can play with them, but I only play with them once a year, and then I never see them again until the next year.
That's
Uh,
right.
so all of that, and of course there are some people who come in kind of a groups, so they know each other from from life, and they usually kind of try to play together. But I've seen so many people trying to find new experience, um, and the best way to
Yeah.
do that is to take a game that you like. For example, if you're not comfortable with socializing that much, take a game, put it on the table, put the teacher, whatever, or the players wanted sign, and set up the game and wait. And there's definitely somebody that will come up and ask if they can sit with you and play the game with you. That's the way you can kind of break through this first social anxiety bubble, I would say, or something like that. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, for example, right? I mean, you and I go on this trip together, but I usually end up playing at most 3 games with you individually on the cruise because I
yes,
end up, you go off with various people and I go off with various people. And so, it's many people go on a trip together, but end up not necessarily spending every minute together.
yeah, yeah, and we also try to play together, but based, for example, let's say you want to have a lunch now, I want to have a lunch later, so
Wait, lunch?
yeah, 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 yeah. See, or dinner, or whatever. Sometimes like, okay, so I'm gonna go, rest a bit or eat. I'm a bit tired, whatever, and you're gonna play the game. But when I'm back, you're in the middle of the game, so
Yeah.
I will not just stick there and wait for you to finish the game. I'll just go and find somebody else to play with. And yeah, I've played various games during the cruise, and we'll. So the whole premise of this particular episode is to kind of just go through the plethora of games that we played, also including the pre-cruise and the after-cruise games, because for me, I take it as a whole experience. So when I come to Kyle's place, I play some games before the cruise, warm up and get the jet lag away, and then after the cruise, I just play some more games to kind of to finish the experience,
Sure.
well-rounded experience. So we'll talk about the games. Some of the games will be on both of our lists. Some of them not. We'll just go back and forth and see how it goes. Yeah, just
That
just
works.
just a talk show. And yeah, I hope Daniel one day you'll be on the cruise as well, so we can play with you. and meet you, yeah, that would be the best time. Anyway, um, let's just start with all of the. Let me see. I have this list here. I use BG Stats, of course, to record my games. So I think without further ado, let's just start with the list of games, and let me just add this tab to our stream
Okay.
so we can. Here you go. So we can show you all the various games we've played, and yeah, I think I'll just start with the first
Go for
game.
it.
The, they might be not in the particular order I played them, but mostly. So the first game I'm talking about is a pre-cruise game called Mosaic.
I played that.
Mosaic or Mosaic, a story of civilization that we played, like Kyle taught me during the pre-cruise. And so, yeah. So I do, there's a particular game from Glendrower that I love. Yeah,
There
it's in my
is.
top 10. It's in my, let's say, even top 5 that I might also mention during this episode. But so this is another, let's say, an epic civilization like a bigger, deluxeified game from Glendrower that goes into that particular civilization theme. In this game, basically, there's a lot of card play, symbol gathering, kind of a set collection, and area majority that you're trying to achieve by putting the buildings down, your armies down. It's not your aggressive kind of a civilization building game where you build cities and armies and go march and kill the others. It's not like that at all. It's very Euro-y. It's very dry on the theme side for me. And there's the resource collection, which is also like resource set collection. So I wasn't enamored with the game due to all of that. It felt like a card game that was bloated with this kind of a appeal of or the appearance of a huge civilization game.
And
And for me, it was just a set collection game, a symbols game. I loved the card play, but everything else surrounding it, I wasn't just a fan of it.
I quite enjoy this game. I've talked about it at length in other contexts. This is a game where turns are really fast, and there's a lot of
True.
things you can do. And it's the biggest problem with this game is that it's too big.
Yes. Yeah. I
It
mean,
is.
you mean physically,
I mean,
component wise,
physically, it is too big. And we played for the first and probably last time with those gigantic player
extra
boards that
boards.
just did not fit on the table. I'm going to have to cut that wheel thing. There's a little wheel tracker at the bottom. I'm going to end up having to cut that off because that's very useful.
It
The
is.
rest was just much too big.
It felt so. There is a game called Flow of History. I think is the one that was put out by I think Team G, but it was by Moidea's Game Design, the Taiwanese or I
Hmm.
don't remember the Asian company, and then republished by Team G, where it was the same thing. So you constantly had to check all those icons that you had, and so it depended on what you have, how strong you are in particular thing. Here as well, you have those icons, and those wheels really helped managing and seeing what icons you have. Yeah, but I mean,
Anyway,
I don't judge. I mean, I don't say the game is bad, and as you
it's
said,
not.
quick
It's
turns,
great.
I like it. But yeah, it's not groundbreaking. It's like a 6 or 7 for me. Yeah.
And it is significantly higher for me. Check out an episode of Wednesday Whimsy where I talked about it.
So what's your Next game you want to talk about?
So the first game I will talk about, and it was my most played game on the cruise, is a game. It was one of my top two games from 2022, and that game is Revive. I
Hmm.
Every cruise I tend to take one or two games with me that I know I want to play, and I will set them up and teach them. I'm okay playing a game 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and I played a total of 39 games on the cruise, and I'm not counting the ones before or after. These are just on the cruise ship for me, and about a third of them were Revive. so
Yeah.
uh, Revive is a game that's not quite like anything else. It's difficult to describe, but really what you're doing is customizing your various scoring options. And you've
Yeah.
got a card that you get at the start, and then there's a bunch of little areas you can go out and figure out how to score. And you're going to be taking sort of short, fast turns and doing a couple actions and kind of customizing the deck that you've got. It's not really a deck building game so much as you're managing two separate decks, and one's going to be in your hand and one's not. And you're spreading out your presence and building up some technologies. This is a game that I was just always on with. I mean, I had this set up. I would wake up early in the morning, take Revive down, set up Revive. I had a table of two or three players, other than myself, in just a matter of minutes. It was one where before I would not put up the flag until it was set up because setting up the game is kind of a peach. Um,
Hmm.
but uh, once I had it set up, if I put up that flag, somebody was there in no time flat. I played a lot of Revive. I taught it to a lot of people. I have come to the conclusion that Revive is a 2 or 3 player game. I don't know that
Yes.
at four that I liked it that much. I would play it at four as long as all three of the other players had played it before, but
Mm.
otherwise it can really drag a little bit. That fourth player just adds time without adding a whole lot of extra fun. But at 2 or 3, this game really sings for me, and I played it a lot.
I came to the conclusion about the player count during my first and the only play of this game, that it's a two-player game. I just, for me, while I played it halfway through the game, I'm like, it's a two-player game, and I would never play it with more than. And we played it the four-player at that time, and of course, I cannot compare because I haven't played it that much. But sometimes you can just see that the
Yeah, we
game
played
would
it
be
at
so much
four,
better
and 3 of the players were
time-wise.
new. So
Yeah. That's what I see. But even then, I mean, like, even if the players are like not new, there are a lot of things going on, and there are a lot of decisions
there
that
are.
you can make, and it can create a little bit of that AP. Not, I mean, for AP prone players, definitely a lot of AP. But it's with every game, But with this one, it can, yeah. So some turns can be thought provoking, some turns can be fast, and with four players, even if I'm sure about that, just from my experience from other games, with any game with a lot of strategy going on, even with experienced players, while you're a new player, sometimes you just do something. When you're an experienced player, you really think about your next turn. If everybody's experienced, then you are trying to strategize and be better than others and still think a lot and do your long turns.
Hmm.
It's not always like more experienced players play faster. No, not always. Play with some of the Scythe players I play with. Oof,
Right.
oof. You
Yeah,
know,
and this is a game where I think the experience doesn't necessarily make you faster, but there's a lot going on in this game. This is a
yeah.
game that I have my spiel about how to teach it now, after having
Hmm.
taught it so many times on the cruise. I mean, that's just what we start with. This game is going to be a lot.
Yeah.
And I've actually started giving a lot of sort of new. I develop. Become a good teacher of whatever cruise game it is by the end of the cruise. I'm trying to give people a lot of, okay. This is some good things for you to focus on early in your first game, because it can be a lot of treading water if you don't know what you're doing.
So, but overly. So I also played Revive with
Fewer
you.
times than me.
Yeah, a few times, one time. So what I enjoy. the card play, the upper part and bottom part of the cards, and how you can buy new cards, and how you can create bonuses based on the color of the cards, and make them kind of a more powerful plays. That was cool. Um, Getting some special abilities based like technology kind of a thing going on your board, on your character thing. Also a nice thing. The moving of that extra board where you are moving those different discs and kind of opening the spaces or some one-time use things or whatever else, it was boring. And the central piece of this, or let's say the central board of this game, is this kind of exploration and putting down the houses. Sadly for me, boring again. So yeah, it's also like 6 or 7 for me. Some parts are really great, but again, too bloated, too much stuff in this game
And for
for
me,
the outcome.
9 out of 10.
Yeah, so you can see how yeah, this is the different taste. But yeah, I didn't find it as great. All right, let's get to the next game. And for some reason, I always end up. Okay, so this is also a pre-cruise game. It's called Marvel Zombies.
Oh, yes, that's right. We did play
a
that.
zombie side game. All right, so let me put here Marvel Zombies. I'll try now to add names on the bottom here as well, so you can see it more clear. But it takes
Not only did we play it, we played it twice.
We played it twice because I like we had to pause the game for a bit. I had to visit a loo, and then when I came back, you said let's just reset because we lost. I mean, like, okay,
We did.
reset
The
the
zombies
game.
exploded and killed us all.
Yeah. So so this is my first and only experience with the Zombicide game, with the Zombicide system, let's say, or something like that, or universe. I don't know. And so, in Kyle's opinion, as I understood, this is one of the best, if not the best, implementation
This is the
of
best
the
Zombicide
Zombicide
game.
Okay, so yeah, in your opinion, as I understand, maybe some people say some other game will be best, but to be honest, this is just a miniature fest and dice fest, and not fun. And I'm not gonna go too much into because the rules actually and the mechanism are rather simple. It's not too hard to understand the things, but collecting those objectives and just killing those zombies with the dice, doing the same thing, rinse and repeat all the time, and this kind of a struggle thing. I'm fine with cooperative games being having this kind of a struggle thing, being hard to win. This one is just so boring, and if this is a zombicide system, then no go for me. No go.
Yeah.
Boring.
If you don't like this one, you won't like any of the others. This one has solved most of the problems of Zombicide. I like the game a lot. This is the game I have been looking for a long time, because I have suffered through all of the various iterations of Zombicide. And I finally have arrived. Right, it feels like I've arrived at this one, because it has solved really all of the issues I had with the system. If you don't like, though, the sort of core experience of this is going to be extremely random. Basically, we're drawing a bunch of cards and we're rolling a bunch of dice, and we might win, we might lose, and we'll do so fairly quickly or fairly spectacularly.
Yeah.
You won't like the other games. So
Yeah.
you had if that picture doesn't scream exciting to you, then the game probably just isn't for you.
It never did. None of the Zombicide games I looked at screamed exciting for me, but eventually I had to try at least one. And when you said
done.
that this is the best one, I
It
was
is.
like, okay, so let me try this one, because I heard some really bad things about the original Zombicide. So yeah,
Many of them probably from me. Um,
Mm-hmm. From Sam Healy was the very
yeah.
first one. I heard some really bad things about some stuff. Anyway, let's get to the next one.
All right, let's go.
It's you now.
Oh, it is me. You actually want me to talk about something. All right. So the second kind of game I played on the cruise, and this was a new game to me. It was a total and absolute surprise. Now, see, I usually go on the cruise with one or two games I want to play, and then if there's something new or something interesting, I like to try it and hopefully save myself from having to buy it. Uh, and so I went in there. There was one game I saw on the shelf, and I really wanted to play it, and that game was Federation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Federation is sort of a loosely themed space game where you're going around a galactic senate and visiting colonies and moving up on tracks. And I was like, okay, I've heard some things about this. It doesn't look all that great, but I want to try it. And I set it up. I had read through most of the rules, and then Tom Vassell from the Dice Tower came over and said, "Here, let me just teach it." And so I was, I sort of had both experiences, and played it through. And after about one round, I was hooked on this. This was so fantastically fun. I immediately after finishing it up, I set it right up and played it again because it was just so interesting. It's got this unique kind of worker placement. You see that board there? You've got four tokens, and they've got two sides to them because they're
Mm-hmm.
tokens. One side is sort of going for activating projects, which is kind of these columns. You're sort of activating what's up at the top, and those are kind of community things. And if they every time they get activated, you move up this track, and if it gets completed, then whoever has the most in a particular type of area is going to get a bunch of points. And so you're kind of thinking, okay, I want to activate it this one because I'm working on that and I need the points, but they're never quite lined up, right? It's not like going to a spot on the orange planet is ever going to advance the orange project. Then the other thing is the other side, there's two objectives that are going to score. And so by putting things on the other side, you're not working on the projects, but you're trying to make one of the two objectives score, which will get you ahead. And that's a very interesting way to sort of think of things. Then there's tracks to go up on. Basically, this is space tapestry. in many aspects. That's the
Mm-hmm.
best analog I can give you. If you don't love
Okay.
tapestry, you probably won't love this. The theme is not
Mm-hmm.
really there, but it is just so much fun. I was really excited, and I need to find a copy. I know there's been a reprint announced with the U.S. publisher at some point in the fall, but I think I need one even before that.
Yeah. Uh, I was asked to if I want to join and play this game.
You were asked by me if you wanted to join and play it.
Yeah. Then I saw 8,000 tracks and 8,001 symbols and realized I'll go play something else. Um, yeah, but it's because lately I've been experiencing this change in my taste for gaming, where I tend to like games with a lot of symbols, all of these moving pieces, etc. less now than I did before. Maybe just a change towards the more simpler looking games. I don't know. I'm I just wasn't interested in this game, and yeah, Tapestry is a very conflicted game for me because I really wanted to like Tapestry, really wanted to like it, and I liked some things about it, but eventually abandoned the game. Yeah. Anyway, so
Oh,
cool
well,
that you like it.
so you didn't play that one, but I thought it was, I mean, this was really the surprise of the cruise for me.
Maybe one day. All right. So let's get to the next one. So the next game is also pre-cruise. So you are talking about the games you played on the cruise. So I'm first taking the pre-cruise stuff. This game was something that we just let's play. I wasn't really interested in it, but why not? You have a copy. Let's do it. It's Verdant.
Verdant?
Yes. And Verdant is about plants, and
It is.
the cover looks boring,
It does.
sadly. Uh, and if you look at the game, it also looks kind of boring, but I do like the pictures of plants. So now this game is about a spatial puzzle where you are putting cards in this grid where you could put the plant cards and the, let's say, the action or scoring cards, in between the plant cards in order for the plant cards to score, but you first have to grow those plants. And cool part about the game is the central mechanism of like the central part of the game where you are drafting those cards from the center. When you're drafting something, you always take a card and a token, or could you take two cards? I don't remember.
No, you
Anyway, you
take one
take
card, one token.
yeah, you take one card, one token. So and those tokens, they boost your actions or give you some extra stuff. But they usually boost whatever you already can do, but in a limited fashion. So cool looking plants, not particularly interesting theme, but fine. Okay, plants. And this beside that mechanism of drafting those things, which was interesting, the spatial puzzle is very boring and kind of stagnated, and kind of doing the same stuff. It's just placing the cards where they need to be. I didn't find it enjoyable.
And see, I really like this game. It's a game from a trilogy, and this is Cascadia, Verdant, and Calico. Now, I did not
Mm.
like Calico at all,
Mm-hmm.
and I do like Cascadia a lot, and I played it a lot with my family, especially last year. And Verdant's about the same level as Cascadia for me. I enjoy them both
Okay.
a lot, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the games sort of have people have very different opinions about them, and there's always one that you'll like better than the other. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there you have it.
I'm not a fan of spatial puzzles overly in gaming, so this one is not an exception to this list.
There you go.
Okay, so what's your next pick?
All right, my next pick is a game that I was excited to try. In fact, I had pre-ordered a copy because I love the publisher, um, and I just give them everything they do a try, and and so this game arrived sort of 2 days after we had left for the cruise. But I saw they had it on there, and I was excited to try it, and that was Hickory Dickory. Now, Hickory Dickory,
I
not
think
the best game.
Hickory
Hick. There you go. Hickory
Dick
Dickory.
Clock? Duck?
No, no. Well, that's the rhyme. I promise it's there.
Hmm.
Hmm. Neither of those is correct. How are you spelling it? Hick.
Okay. H I C
O
K.
O.
Oh, Hickory Dickory.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Hickory Dickory. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Hickory
Yeah.
Dickory. Whatever. Just such a
that's
terrible
that's the
name.
one.
Okay.
Well, it's not the best name. I mean, it is a reference to a nursery rhyme about a clock with mice on it. This game, if you set it up, it just looks really quite captivating. It's got this nice clock face
Yeah,
with
that
these
looks
sort of
cool.
3D hands, and you've got these weights going down it like, a grandfather clock with the weights that are going to keep it moving. It just looks really adorable. And what you're doing in the game is you've got these mice, and you're going to put them on these hands of the clock, and then the clock's going to tick around, and then the mice might jump off, or they might stay on, and another mouse might put them off, push them off, and you're kind of collecting a bunch of sets for whatever reason. And the
Mm-hmm.
game itself was really kind of a disappointment. It was such that had I not pre-ordered a copy, I definitely would not have bought one. I found that sort of the central mechanism of these mice on the clock, it wasn't all that interesting. It was like, okay, I'm going to get
Mm-hmm.
off because I want to do this action, or I'll get pushed off and do the action anyway. But and maybe with more than two players, it might have been more interesting. But even the sort of clock itself didn't work as well as it should. It was like it would kind of push things off, but then you were wondering, is this really off or not?
Mm.
There was a two-player slider that kind of didn't stay in place, so there were some physical issues with it. But it's just I just didn't like it, and the person I played it with also didn't like it. That was Candace. It was not fun for me. It was a real miss. Another
Okay.
problem is you have four mice, and so you've got four different sort of storage spots for putting these tokens. And I found
Mm-hmm.
that people, at least the one time I played it, I'll just admit it's just a one play, but it was always people wanted to spend things from the wrong pile. And it was kind of difficult to coordinate. Okay, I've got to get this mouse to here and then wait one
Mm-hmm.
whole round so it can get back on and go over to here. And it kind of felt like a
Mm-hmm.
slog. And then you would roll a die and put out a cat paw, which just basically blocked off an action space,
Mm-hmm.
and that didn't feel like it added very much other than frustration. So this one, unfortunately, was a real miss for me.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't played that one. Looks really cool. That's all I can say.
It does, but it kind of feels like they designed it from so it was like, we have a great idea. Let's have a game with a clock, and then
Okay,
they kind of pasted a game over the top of it, and I don't know that it was successful.
got it. All right. So for my next pick, let's talk about the another hotness of the end of the last year, maybe even this year. It's Endless Winter,
I played that.
and there's the longer name, Endless Winter, something something. Paleo Americans, and there's all those expansions which are some other names, but Endless Winter. Everybody says Endless Winter.
Because it's its name.
Yeah, like everybody says Arnak, and why I'm saying why I'm talking about Arnak is that
That
this
was not
one,
a clever segue, by the way.
yeah, but I mean, so this game kind of reminds me of Arnak, also a worker placement, a central board kind of a thing, landscapes going on, card play with sort of a deck building, um, in a sense. Now, I I was looking forward to this game very much. Great art, a lot going on, but this one is much more dry, in my opinion, than Last Ruins of Ornek. And some of the parts of this game are kind of boring. I haven't played all the expansions and such, but we played only maybe some modules. I think I don't know exactly.
We played a couple of the modules. We didn't play with my favorite one because that adds a lot of extra rules. But
Okay.
yeah, it's we played with a good kind of cross section of the core experience with a
Okay.
couple of extra things.
All right. So there are several things. Like there's that track, like two tracks you go up on.
I love
Very
tracks.
boring. Very boring. Should be excluded from this game. There's other stuff about this shape you can see on the left, where you just place your tile things for whatever reason, and they give you extra resources for whatever reason. Why? Exclude that thing as well. It doesn't add anything to the game. It doesn't add to the theme. It just let's just add this for the sake of the mechanism, so it can have more mechanisms. I'm kind of disappointed in this game. This game should have been Arnak 2.0 in a sense, like great theme, going around feeling like you're exploring. You don't feel like you're exploring here at all. Uh, the worker placement with the card play. The card play is very strict in my opinion. Uh, I constantly compare it to Arnek because in Arnek I feel that the card play is very important and much more interesting than in this one. So yeah, I overly the card things, what they did, how they were integrated into the worker spots. I mean, there were some interesting things about the game, but yeah, I was just enamored. They just play card to add to those symbols, and then you can do this thing a bit better. And then you collect animals for what? Set collection. And then you collect that for what? Set collection. And then you do this kind of area majority thing for what? Some extra few things. Here you can get some extra. Here you can get a little bit of extra. None of the mechanisms felt like they were huge, central, amazing. Like this worker placement stuff as well. It didn't feel like it was extremely important. You know, everything felt like the game was spread it evenly, like the butter on the bread. You know, so it could feel even in all parts of that game. But then games must have some really strong central parts and then some extras. This one didn't feel like it had strong central part, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I really love this game. This was in my top, I think top 3 of 2022. Maybe it was top 4. I can't remember, but it was it was definitely in there. This is one that I just played a lot of. Now I will say, I kind of have played it enough that I start to feel like I'm maybe doing the same thing a lot. So, but you sort of switch up a couple modules or try something new, and it kind of refreshes it for me. I will say the theme is not there at all.
Yes.
Um, there's these 3 games that, because they're similar, are always going to be compared, which is The Lost Ruins of Arnak, Endless Winter, and Dune Imperium.
Yeah.
And I definitely still think Dune Imperium is the strongest of the 3. But but I really enjoyed Endless Winter. It is a lot, and it takes up a lot of space, and there's lots going on. But it's something I will look forward to coming back to many, many more times.
Yeah, it's like for me, it's something like there's a little bit too much. It should have been streamlined a little bit more, or maybe a little bit more theme added to it, or something that didn't feel like a strict, themeless thing I'm doing. It felt too strict for me as well.
Yeah,
For
and
some
and
reason.
actually, and I felt, and I think Daniel has hit at this as well. It felt too loose for me, right? It's very possible to do just a little bit of everything in this game, and I've never not
Yeah.
made it to the top of both of those tracks, for example, and I've never not put all 3 of my kind of tents out unless I specifically chose not to, and I've never not put all of my monolith bonus tiles out. So I think, the order of doing that can be important, but I've actually
Yeah.
found that it's easy even in just 4 rounds, because unlike things like The Lost Ruins of Arnak, where drawing cards is difficult, in this game you can draw cards as many times as you would like, pretty much, and
They are
always have a
quite
huge
exciting.
hand. If you have a hand of 15 cards, the game is wide open to you.
But it's wide open and very strict at the same time, because what you can do with those cards, doing the same thing, and like I said, so the thing that you said basically confirms what I said. So it's like a butter that's spread on the bread evenly. There's nothing. There's no that central piece of that which is chunky, which is tasteful. There's no that great central piece and something surrounding it, district surrounding it. Everything is kind of evenly spread out
Mhm.
between the mechanisms. Anyway, yeah, you like it. I'm fine with it. It's I give it like 7 out of 10, something like that. I mean, the game is good. It works well, but just not. I was disappointed in it.
Well, that means you can save yourself some money.
I did during the Kickstarter, and I'll do it further on.
Very well.
Yeah, you're basically you are saving me a lot of money. Uh,
I'm glad I can help.
I can just come to you, play all of those garbage games, and then not play them again or buy them. I'm
Lots
kidding.
of people if you know someone who has a shopping problem, that can be beneficial to you. All
Yes. All right. What's your next pick?
right, my next is a game that I had played before the cruise, but I played it a couple of times on the cruise because I wanted to give it a couple more chances. And this is a game that I really was excited for. It had a very interesting looking cover. I was very excited about it coming out at Essen. It didn't really come out there. There were just a few copies, but the game is called Rise. Rise. And Rise has a really interesting cover with this like city and these ghosts coming out of the chimneys. And it is ganz schön clever, the
That's
board
such
game.
a cover.
So
Such a.
so you get to the cover. I like the cover. The cover is very
You like
evocative
the
to me.
cover?
Yeah, I
Okay.
love the cover.
Hmm.
But if you go to the game, uh, if we cut over to the game, you'll see it does not look
Such an
like that at all.
amazing looking game.
It is.
Love it.
It looks like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tracks that you're going to set up in whatever formation. That doesn't matter. And
Mm.
basically, this is like playing Ganz schon clever, right? You're gonna
Mm.
there's some cards that come out. You're gonna pick which one you want. There's sometimes a cost, and then you're going to move up on a track, and that track is going to move you up on another track, and that track's going to move you up on another track and another track. This is Tracks, the board game. And
Mm.
I, so I'll say I enjoy this game, but I do not love it. I have never played a game of it where somebody other than me has had a good time. It's just what it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone sort of has a pleasant experience with it, but I've never found
Oh,
somebody who just
tracks.
loved it. And I think that's the problem is that the theme is so not there. I mean,
Uh
this
huh.
is loosely about building up a city or whatever, but really it's just Tracks, the board game, and the
I'm
tracks themselves
surprised.
are
Guilty
not. And I look,
games and tracks
I
the board
I
game and no theme.
I love a good track, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
put a
yeah.
track in front of me and
I
I'm
hate.
excited. But
I
the
mean, I hate
problem
tracks.
is that these tracks, they just don't do anything. All they ever do is push you up on other tracks. And I
Oh
think
yes.
that the combos themselves were never as exciting, and the kind of way cards came out. I mean, it always felt like there was a card I needed to pick, and it didn't feel like, okay, I can pick three good choices. It felt like there was one good choice and three mediocre ones. And if given that selection, you choose the good choice. So I don't know. And then the scoring track is one of my least favorite scoring tracks ever because it's one of those ones that
Mm,
goes back and forth. And so if you're not paying attention, you can give
the snake
yourself too
track.
many points or
Hmm.
take away too many points. And it's not like and there's a reverse side that's blank. And I don't know. It was a constant struggle was figuring out which way am I moving this token. I'm gonna have to draw arrows on mine or something because it's rough. Because there's also no artwork there to kind of guide you. This
Or
game,
outline the snake formation.
something like that. I will have to mark mine up, but I just don't know that this game is going to get played a lot more. Unfortunately, I liked it. I did not love it though.
Yeah. So look, I'm not against tracks. So there are some games that I like which have tracks. But usually, what tracks in games indicate for me is a lazy design. It seems like tracks is something that's very easy implemented in every game, and very they are very strict mechanism. They are just you go up or you go right or you go left, whatever. It's like there's one way you go, or you can go the
Oh,
opposite
some of
way.
these you can go both ways on.
Yeah, I mean,
There's even a fisting track.
tracks is a lazy mechanism, and if a game is tracks the game, uh, like in this case seems to be based on the pictures and your story, then it seems to be a lazy design. So yeah, just my opinion on tracks. Don't make
I don't
tracks the
know
game.
that this will be. I don't know that this will be a game that you will enjoy then.
Yeah, because Monopoly is tracks the game, but you just go in circles.
Well,
Anyway, yeah,
okay.
let's rise up from some garbage to some. Oh no! Oh no! No. Sorry. We'll have to continue with the games that I might have not liked. And
You know, you could talk about the games you liked, right?
I'll get to them. I'll get to them eventually. But so
Okay,
what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna talk about the games that we talked about before that are my old favorites. Whatever I played on the cruise, I'm just gonna skip them. So
sure.
there's still like whatever Silver or the Green Masquerade. No, just skip it. We talked about them. I'm gonna talk about games that are kind of new to me, and
Sure.
one of them is called Turing Machine.
Oh,
Now, first of all, I would say so. I might have made this small mistake by naming Turing Machine a game.
I'd agree with
Though
that.
you can classify it as a game, it is a game. Um, and yeah, here I'm at loss of words because this game is also an activity, kind of a thing, a puzzle activity where you are trying to find a code based on the combination of the machine, and the machine has these formulas like the yellow can never be higher than the purple, or vice versa, or this times that makes up to this, or this is like that, and blah blah blah. Some facts or wrongs that you can find out by placing those special cards, creating those codes, and see if you can catch either the green whatever the green
There's a
thing
check
which
mark and there's
says
an X.
a check mark, which means that yes, that particular sentence is right, or X, that particular sentence is wrong, and trying to figure this out. Playing it once, so I think that it was worth playing it once, for me at least, to experience a different approach to stuff. This felt different. This was different. This was like an activity. I am quite sure, about 100%, maybe 110% sure, that I will never come back to this game and I will never play it again, because this was very boring. And if you're playing it multiplayer, you're kind of just playing by yourself. It just several people are playing by themselves.
Yeah. So this game is very much a solo experience, right? It is a solo logic puzzle that can be experienced by more than one person. Uh, and it is a very interesting physical component, right? These cards and getting them to work and kind of test the different theories. Very interesting logic, but it really could have been an app.
Yeah.
And I think the strength of the game is that it's not, right. It's very much using analog technology here,
Mm-hmm.
but and that makes it an interesting artifact. I will not say that it is the best game in terms of something I would ever play with another person. I mean, I did play it with the two of you, but that was more so
There's
you
no
could
point.
see it and experience it. And I have played it a lot more by myself, and I find that to be a much better experience because it's really all you're doing is trying to sort of solve this puzzle in the fewest turns
It's a
possible.
solo game, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
It's a
solo
solo game that can
experience.
be played together.
Solo artifact. All right.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
So,
there you have it.
yeah. What about you?
So, the next game was another one I was really excited to try on the cruise because I had heard good things about it. And this was Rebuilding Seattle.
Mm.
Rebuilding Seattle is a polyomino game, your
Another
favorite
great,
kind.
another great title of the game.
Well, it is a good title of a game. I don't know what happened to Seattle, but so the artwork on this is a little bit garish. Just sort of brace yourself. On the cover, it's fine, but once you kind of
Ooh,
look in the
amazing.
game, you're going to see a lot of bright colors.
Oh, such great. Oh, love it.
And so the game
Oh my god.
itself is look, I liked the game. I'm going to start out by saying I liked the game. In fact, I'll
All right.
probably buy it because I enjoyed playing it.
Ooh.
It is a lot. And one of my biggest issues with it is if you play with more than two players, you have to put up a separate track of cards. And if you play with three players, so there's two tracks of cards you're looking at. With four players, you're putting out three tracks of cards, and the cards aren't particularly big, and so it's
Mm.
going to be difficult for people to see all of the options around the table, no matter how you set this thing up.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
have to organize all of the tiles by type and color every single time you play. So it's a lot of setup for not a very long game. It's a very short game where you're going to the players are going to govern the length of the round, which is a sort of an interesting mechanism. But what you're trying
Okay.
to do is move up these things on tracks and then score them. And the scoring is wonky because you have to have like more of a particular type of symbol than you do population. And so I found that that was a difficult concept for people to understand as well. It's like, okay, why do I not get all the points? Well, because you haven't gone
Okay.
far enough yet. But I liked the game. I did not love the game, but I enjoyed it enough that I do want to keep playing it, though. So
Okay. Um, Looks like a prototype. Looks like a food chain magnet that found a bit of purple. Uh,
and yellow. Don't forget yellow and bright orange
I think
and
food chain
pink.
magnet had yellow. Did it? No.
You've never played Food Chain Magnet. What are you talking about?
But I've seen the pictures. I mean, anyway, yeah. It's if it's polyomino's game, no, then no go for me. But yeah, uh, you do you. If you like it, you like it.
I enjoyed it. I made poor Victor play it a couple times in a row. I don't think he liked it as much as I did.
I kind of heard, yeah, him crying about this situation. All right. So my next pick is and I didn't get to the games that I played during the cruise still because I played a lot of games with you guys. This was still during my pre-cruise, but it's we played a lot of new games with you. So this is the game that's from one of my favorite designers of all time, Bruno Cathala. I think together with Theo Riviere. I think they made it together with Theo. It's Orichalcum.
Mm-hmm.
And so Orichalcum is, in a sense, a I wouldn't say it's a polyamorous game because you are kind of building up this territory of different landscapes, but it's more like building up the territory and then claiming some stuff and fighting the monsters, etc. It's a very straightforward game. You draft the cards from the center, and then you just do the stuff that it says and put the landscape out, whatever it was on the card, and maybe the enemy. And then to fight the enemy, you just place some of the soldiers on the board, and then kind of roll the dice and hope you can kill the enemy. And by killing the enemy, so what are the enemies? Enemies are basically resources, or they block building near them. But they are not.
Like
They're
enemies do.
but they are not attacking you. They're more of a nuisance. So yeah, it's like you have some of the resources, and killing enemies is also creating another resource, and then you can
Sure.
exchange those resources for whatever
A new
else.
turn.
Yeah, something I don't remember exactly, because this game was just boring, sadly. You do all the same things until you get to the 5 points or coins or whatever they are, which you can get in kind of various ways with the titans, with the pyramids, I remember, or the coins themselves, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the fan of games where there is a race, and especially race to the points. I'm just not a fan of this mechanism. I don't like this mechanism at all, which is in here. Landscape building, nah. Card drafting, nah. Everything felt the same. There are different resources, the soldiers and the gold and the enemies, but all of them eventually were almost the same thing. With the soldiers, you can get gold. With the gold, you can get soldiers. Oh, so much fun. They weren't something that was, the soldiers are for that particular thing, the gold's for that particular thing. With everything, you can get everything, kind of a thing. The resources were not distinguished between each other that well, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But yeah, I wasn't a fan of this game. It's boring.
I I like the game, but I definitely don't love it. I think it might have been oversold to me, um, and that's
Great art.
okay, right? Some people might like it more than I did. I found it a little bit too basic for me. I didn't ever
Basic. Yeah.
find that any turn was particularly exciting or any
Yeah.
action was particularly interesting. It was more, okay, I'll do this, and if I do this, it'll move me toward sort of my goal. But I never had an exciting moment in it.
Yeah. Yes. But I don't understand the choice of this mechanism and the design where like you can spend either soldiers or gold, which basically give you the same thing, but just you cannot spend soldiers to create a to build a soldier thing. You have to build the gold
Yeah,
thing instead. With the gold, you build soldier. It's like just exchanging between the two resources, but
yeah. It
everything else,
kind of felt like a throwaway to me. It kind of
it's
felt like, okay, we're going to put out a game to put out a game.
yeah, might have been. Anyway, that's Ori Colcom.
There
Not
you go.
a great game.
Not the best game. There were better games.
Boring, boring.
All right.
What's your choice?
All right. So my next one is a game I was really excited to try, and it was a game that I had purchased because I heard it was amazing. But it's a game that requires a large group of people, and it's the type of game that the people I regularly play with don't really love. So I was excited to try it on the cruise because that would be kind of my only chance to try it. And that game is Blood on the Clock Tower. So Blood on the Clock Tower is basically Fancy Werewolf. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if you like the sort of public domain werewolf game, you'll probably like this. If you don't like it, there is nothing here that will change your mind. People will talk about it like it's the second coming of board games. The people who
Oh,
like it really love it because you've got special powers, right? Everyone has their own special power. The problem is that some of the special powers are really boring. Uh,
okay,
like when we played it, and mine was I might appear as a bad guy, even if I was a good guy. And
okay.
that was a power that did not really do anything for me. It
Mm-hmm.
just sort of threw a wrench in for a couple of the other players. So I was kind of a supporting cast member. And that's okay, right? I mean, if you go into this expecting werewolf, you'll probably have a good time. But if you go into it expecting something different, you might be disappointed. The game also is extremely expensive. It's $120 for what you see here. And and
Oh
I
yeah.
just don't know that it is the kind of game that was worth that kind of I won't use the term investment, but that kind of a capital outlay.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it will be fun with the right group, but there are probably better games that you can get cheaper. I
Mm-hmm.
will say I would love to try it as kind of the person running it. I think that would be fun. But as a
Mm-hmm.
player, it just kind of felt like I was playing werewolf.
Okay. Just briefly went through the rule book while I was at your place, looking at all the different stuff, and yeah, definitely, it felt like it's a social deduction game, very small game, packed into this enormous, huge box with huge production value for
Mhm.
the reason of just looking cool, and
That's right. And I mean, some of the things are functional, but I just don't know. I think this one was definitely oversold to me.
so if like me, let's say, so for example, I'll just to be sure that if I should try the game. For example, me or there are several people out there who hate werewolf with all of their heart and want to burn every werewolf card or component, games component in the world. What can you say to those people?
I
I
would say
mean,
that those people probably would not have a very different experience with this game.
mhm. All right. I will not burn anybody's copy of Blood and Clock the Tower because I have not played
I think
it,
you can save your $120.
but I can save my $120. All right, yeah. Not a fan of werewolf, so probably we'll skip that one. Okay. So now we get to the territory of the games that I have. I'm sorry. That I've played on the cruise. And I have a huge list of games that I played before, so I'm gonna go with only the ones that I played for the first time.
Okay.
And one of them is Heat. Pedal to the metal.
Pedal to the metal.
Yeah. So I was thinking about buying this game, as you know, and but I was hesitant because I'm not the fan of racing games, as I told you before. Race games, no go for me usually. Race to the points, hard no go for me. Yeah, but there are some racing games that I still enjoy. Or for example, Steampunk Rally is something I enjoy, though it being a racing game, but it probably has some strong other mechanisms that I really enjoy that the racing kind of doesn't bother me. Here, sadly, it does. So the whole premise of the game is kind of like a deck building. Forget it. It's not a deck building, not at all. It's a card play. You just add heat or don't add it. It's not deck building. It's just blocking your hand or whatever thing, you know. And the whole premise is that you draw some cards. You simultaneous action selection of the cards is there with, and you choose your speed and your gear. So how much you want to push, etc., which is cool. This mechanism itself is cool. I like that. Simultaneous action selection, I like that. Everything else, it's just a boring race game. There's nothing extra to it. This is not an innovation. This game is your usual race game, you know? Maybe only this heat thing and the card play is cool, but the central board is just racing. And when we when we did the first, like, so we did the two circles or two rounds around the board thing. When we did the first one, and then you said there's another one. If you remember, I looked at you like, oh, really? Is there another one? I wanted the second round to end as quickly as possible because I was so bored. I had enough with the first round because the second round feels like I'm just doing the same thing again. And
You're going
there's
around the
no,
same track.
yeah, same track with same cards. There's no difference at all. Maybe I have more heat cards in my deck. That's it. Wow, such a difference. What's the fun about the game? Tell me.
And I find the game to be just so fun. And I don't know that I love racing games generally, but this is one I really do like. I like all this sort of simultaneous movement. I like sort of pushing yourself to the limit, hitting the corners, not hitting the corners, trying to time what you're going to play, how many cards you have to play at a time, which is something you've got to control. This game really sings for me and was a huge hit for me and definitely part of my top 22 of 2022.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. People find it fun. I don't.
And I am one of those people.
Okay. I can accept that.
And I have Super Mario in mine.
Cool. Well, whatever you like. Okay. Tell me about yours.
So the next game I will talk about is a game that was is a new version of a game that of a game that I had played before, and this is one of Victor's favorite games, which was On the Underground, Paris and New York. So
On the underground.
we've played the Berlin London version. The Paris and New York is the new one, and it's basically the same game again, right? I mean, if you loved On the Underground, you'll love Paris and New York. If you hated On the
Okay.
Underground, you will hate Paris and New York. There's not very much different. The New York, we only played the New York side, and the shtick is that some of the destinations come up twice, and there's no longer the priority destinations and the non-priority ones. So it's possible for more ties to happen, which means that the player has a little bit more control over where the passenger is going to go. There's also these purple traffic areas where by building into them later in the game, you can get more points. And I found that very confusing for people. Nobody can ever remember that. But the game is fine. I like On the Underground, and so I like this one, and I'll enjoy playing the Paris side someday. I will say that there were, for a 3-player game, I think we should have taken out some cards because we ran out of pieces before we had run out of the deck, and running out of the deck is what ends the game. So the last couple of turns were just sort of run the scoring, run the scoring,
Hmm.
run the scoring, and you're kind of left with what you had built, which is okay, right? I mean, if that's sort of what the game's doing, build the best thing you can so that you're ready for the end. That's great, but there were literally 4 or 5 turns where we did not have the ability to do anything because we had placed all of our pieces on the board. So I liked it. I do like the original better. I'm hoping that in the final one that comes from the Kickstarter, that they've kind of put in some take this many cards out for 3 players. I think that would solve that issue. I guess I could do that myself, but I don't want to balance your game for you. But it's a great game if you like On the Underground, and it's a frustrating game if you do not.
Okay. Yeah, it's never played it. Uh, Looks really boring, sadly, but maybe it's an
Oh,
amazing
it's
game.
not really boring, and it's really interesting because you're controlling 3 or 4 different subway
It
routes,
looks
and
it looks
so
boring.
and you're trying to get this passenger who moves on a very strict set of rules to take your line rather than the others. Some people I know really like this game, and I enjoy
Hmm.
it.
Sounds like a puzzle. So yeah, I'm not sure about that one. All right, but who knows? Maybe an amazing game. Uh, all right.
I would
So
say a good game, not an amazing one.
oh, maybe a good game. Uh, so for my pick, the next one that I played 3 times during the cruise.
Uh-huh.
So I usually always play. I try to play as many different games as I can, but this one I played 3 times. The first time we played it kind of wrong. I mean, we just took the game, and the other person was just going through the rules quite fast. Trying to kind of learn the rules and teach it right away. Eventually, when I took the rule book, I found out that there were some wrongdoings, and I realized we played the game wrong, so I played it again 2 times in a row. Anyway, the spill is my next one. So the spill is a cooperative game. One might say pandemic like, where some bad stuff is happening, and the stuff is kind of a bad stuff is spreading on the board, and you're trying to contain it. So kind of like pandemic like. Okay. In this game, so the spill is, you have the oil spill from the rig, and you have to save all of those different animals. You have the objective, or the objective card, which has, depending on the difficulty that you choose of the card, it can be some simple objective that you must do, or um, some really hard objectives. Like, for example, we had this. There was a medium card, by the way, but this game is very hard to play. Even on easy mode, it's like Ghost Stories kind of a thing. Like, it's still hard. We had this objective that none of the storks, the animals, must be removed from the board or die or whatever. and it's like extremely difficult to save a particular species because it all depends where the dice land. But the cool part is that you throw the dice. Each player on their turn throws the dice into this dice tower, and it kind of spills out those dice into those sections, and then you put them out in those sections. Maybe basically spilling and contaminating the waters and maybe the animals themselves. And we're moving around the circle with our boats, using our special abilities, etc. Uh, and each player has a special ability to try to get to the objectives and win the game and save animals, whatever, you know, your usual cooperative stuff. When you play with less than 4 players, there will be those dummies, dummy boats that you can move around. It's not. It's. I usually don't like dummy players, but they are just somebody just does the turn for them, just moves the thing, and you can use their ability. It's very easy. It's like you have 2 turns and just have 2 abilities. It's not hard. It's very easy. The turns are quick
Okay.
and easygoing. So yeah, I really enjoy this cooperative game. I like the struggle. So the people I played with, like the Dar and L, they don't enjoy this kind of a game, where pandemic like games where there's a lot of struggle and you feel like you struggling a lot and it's hard. For them it's depressing. For me it's fun. So
Okay. Okay.
I
Well, it
really
sounds like you
enjoyed the
like it.
mechanism. I really enjoyed this mechanism. You can make it easier, by the way, if you want to. You can, manage the difficulty of the game. So yeah, uh, I was I was really enjoying the game. I wanted it into my collection because I feel this is something I don't have, a pandemic like cooperative game. Yeah,
I
the
see.
spill.
I have not played the spill, and I know you offered to teach it to me, but it does not look interesting to me at all. I'm
It's
judging
fine.
it based upon just sort of I've played that kind of pandemic like game, and I'm fine with that in pandemic, and I'm just not sure that it calls to me. So
That's
I
fine.
do not have an opinion on the game.
Yeah, maybe one day you'll try it and you'll like it or not.
Maybe I will.
What's your next pick?
My next pick is another new game, and this was another surprise new game. So, in the Dice Tower library, there are some games that are always being played, and this is one of those games. I had
Mm-hmm.
heard that it was very good, and I was very excited to try it. And we finally found it in on the shelf, and that game is called First Rat.
Okay.
So First Rat, I thought it was going to be a political game. I don't know why. I knew nothing about it other
Why?
than that it had rats. But it's First Rat to the Moon. Um,
It wasn't on my anticipated list at some point. I don't remember. It was 21 or
so
22.
yeah, it was a game that I knew nothing about and I had not really been interested in, but I'd heard so many people talk about it, and I'd heard so many people enjoy it that I was like, okay,
Yeah,
fine, I'll try it. And the game, I don't know, if you zoom in and look at the artwork, it's a lot better than seeing it from a high view. But
it is.
basically, you have a team of 4 rats and you're trying to get them to the end of this track, and you can move them. You can move 1 rat 5 spaces, or you can move up to 4 rats, assuming you have them. Fewer than 5 spaces, 1 to 3. The shtick is that they have to land on the same color spot, and then you'll
Yeah.
activate all those spots and get a bunch of resources. You turn the resources in to build rocket parts, or to sort of basically put cubes out on the board that are going to score you points. And there's a bunch of different ways to do that. You can kind of rush it and try and get all your rats to the end quickly. You can play it slow and try and build stuff. You can work and focus on special abilities. Just
Okay.
a lot of things to do in this game, but none of them is particularly difficult. The game itself is very approachable. The rules are super simple, and I was very impressed with it. I immediately ordered a copy for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
we've already used that copy a couple of times. I
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I don't know that I'm particularly good at it, but I found it to be quite interesting and
Yeah,
a great game to introduce to people.
I do agree. We both played it for the first time, and then I think, no, I played it two times as well. I played it with you and somebody else, and then we played it with Candace and you and somebody else. I think, or
Oh,
something
you
like
were in
that.
that second one as well. Yeah, we did. We did play it
I
again later.
think I
Hmm.
I think I played it twice. Yes, I did. I played it twice. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I played with you, and then I played with you and Candace again.
All
Yeah,
right.
I do agree. It's a really cool game, and this is one of my biggest surprises. It wasn't my anticipated list. I was looking forward to this game in a sense. Then I forgot about the game. I was like, okay. What I was afraid of when I looked at the game before playing it, a long time before playing it, was like, oh, it seems to be like a race game. I hope it's not that kind of a race game that I hate. Thankfully it's not, because it's not about, like, of course it's a bit of a racing game, because the first one to reach the last spot will get a bit more points, but you can get points throughout the different ways, and you can be slow but be very smart about your decisions, how to move your rat. I love this. Moving several rats, less positions, but then they have to land on the same color, but then you get a lot of resources. I like this kind of a light bulb thing going on. One thing about light bulb is not functionally, it's not functional. This light bulb thing, it's sometimes you kind of skip it or forget it because
Mm,
it's just next to the place, and you kind of, the first game at least, I probably forgot to take some of my bonuses, like
mm.
twice.
That's a bad choice.
It's just not functional on the on that kind of component wise. It's just not as functional, but it's still cool. Getting those special abilities, and I haven't tried we haven't tried the super rats, whatever they are, module. Have you
Mm.
tried it? I don't know.
I have not because I've constantly been teaching new people.
Yeah. So maybe try it one day,
I will.
and this is just, doing various things to get on those scorings to be first there. It's all about just putting those cubes down in those scoring lanes. Yeah, but such a simple, fast, cool game. I don't know. One of my biggest surprises.
There you go.
All right. So we go to the next game. So I have to skip a lot of games that I played that I talked about before. I'm gonna skip Dice Manor because we didn't play the full game. It was so boring that
Yeah.
we didn't play
Oh,
through the whole thing. Yeah, it was really
you
bad.
loved it. I see.
What?
Okay. So
You,
don't talk
you,
about it then.
yeah, yeah. You liked it. It seems to
I
be.
did like it.
You recommended it to us.
Yeah, because you didn't have very much time and it was short.
Rules were so bad. Ugh. Uh, Badly written rules. Anyway, my next game is Endangered.
Okay.
Also, not so well written rules, but fine. It's okay. It's okay. So we played the tiger scenario.
So the basic tiger scenario. Got it.
Yeah, I think it's a basic tiger
Yeah,
scenario.
it's the basic one.
Okay, so yeah, this is about, trying to save those animals and then mate and them, so they will not be extinct, and then you're trying to influence the different countries. At first you don't know what they want. Eventually they will open up their objectives, and those different countries, you need to get a certain amount of votes from those countries, but basically you're trying to fulfill the objectives of those countries, so they kind of greenlit the saving of whatever species they are.
Right.
And you're playing cards, and those cards usually are there are some one-time use cards, but there are also some cards that are worker spots, so you're creating the worker spots as you go, which I love in games. And you are rolling and using your dice, to do stuff, and I like the idea how the dice block spots based on the value of the die. So, for example,
Hmm.
if I put a 3 on that particular card on worker spot, but there are several, like you can place your die there as well next round, but it has to be at least one pip higher, etc. Overly,
Sure.
a really cool puzzle game. I really enjoyed it. It's something I would love to play again with other animals and species, etc. Um, Another game that L and Dar didn't like after the spill because yet again they don't like the struggling, the feel of struggle. So this game is
Mm.
about everything is good, but then everything starts to get bad, 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 bad. And then you're trying to survive this bad. I like these games. I
Okay.
don't like to start bad and then become good. No, no, no,
Uh,
no, no.
See, I enjoy Endangered, but it's not my favorite cooperative game. I kind of find that I feel like what I'm doing is not actually what I need to be doing, right? Because of the way that points are scored and the way that victory in the
Mm-hmm.
game works, it can kind of feel like what you need to do is A, B, and C, but what you
Yeah,
want to do is D, E, and F.
I could see this being mechanical, but it's with many co-op games usually.
So,
So
and I
between
have
this,
like 15 different animals in mind because if you get the
okay,
expansion it's just a bunch of different animals and I like that, and some of them are animals you've never heard of before, like I mean there's
the
something like the devil's hole
crawfish.
cave fish. Yeah, it
Oh,
was some
Devil's Hole
cave
Cavefish.
fish,
Yeah,
and
I've heard
I
about
was
this
like
one.
I had not, and so
The
that's
one with
kind of
this thing above the head.
the one with this thing above the head. um
No,
I don't, I think that's an anglerfish. um
maybe.
Anyway, I don't know much about the devil's hole cave fish, and that's okay, I don't need to.
Oh, I know the cavefish. Okay, got it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I enjoy Endangered. I just don't know that I love it.
Okay, okay, that's totally fine. Between the spill and endangered, I think I don't need to own both because it kind of the criteria of this kind of a genre of co-op games. I feel that maybe the spill suits me more,
Okay,
so I'm not sure if I need to buy endangered. Especially if with the endangered, I feel like then I have to buy a ton of expansions to
there's
make
just
it
one
more
expansion.
variable. Oh, is it one?
It's one that comes with. I mean, there's two like modular ones you could buy by themselves, like promos. But if you buy the
No,
expansion, it has several different animals in
I
it.
have several at once. Okay, got it.
Hmm.
Anyway, yeah, but what's your next pick?
So my next pick is another game that I wanted to try before I bought. Well, it's a game I had bought on Kickstarter and has not arrived. And the game is called Shake That City. And this is a gimmick game. It's basically you've got this little dice shaking box, and it's going to put down cubes in a 3 by 3 square, and then you're going to pick one of those patterns. So you could pick the blues, and if the blues came out at an angle pattern, you would place the blues on your board in an angle pattern. And then you're trying to fulfill
Okay.
objectives. Unfortunately, everyone has the same objectives, which means that they're not all that interesting, and
Oh,
I was unfortunately very much underwhelmed by Shake That City. I was hoping for something
okay.
kind of clever and innovative, and what I got was something very kind of prosaic. So, one that I would not have purchased had I played it first.
Okay. I don't have any opinion on that one. Doesn't look cool.
Because you didn't play it.
Yeah, it looks
And you made
boring.
the right choice.
Thank you. All right, for my next one, let's just briefly. So this is my first time when I played the game called So Clover.
Ah, I played that game.
So just very briefly, it's a word guessing game, and I really enjoyed it. The idea is you're everybody gets the planchette of with those cards with that same with a particular in a particular rotation order, whatever, and the two words are basically the ones that the other people will try to guess, and you are trying you're trying to give them the clues. So you have to give 4 clues on each rotation side,
Hmm.
and then you, as I understand, then you pull off these cards
That's
from
right.
this clover, and
Yes.
add another card, shuffle them up, put the
Yep.
empty clover on next
On
to
the
the
table.
players.
Yeah.
Give them the cards, and then they have to kind of put the cards in the right order, in the right rotation,
That's right.
so it will match the clues that you have. Yeah,
That's right.
something like that. Yeah, it's a
Exactly
little
like
bit
that.
hard to it's a little bit hard to explain. It's harder to explain that than code names, but this was fun. I really
It
enjoyed
is.
it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would play it again.
It's a great little party game. It does not look like much, but if you have just a short amount of time and a large group of people, it can be a lot of fun. I mean, look, the scoring is just kind of there. You're trying to get it in, as few guesses as possible and as many as possible, but it's really just a fun thing to do. And I have been very impressed with So Clover,
Okay.
other than its name, which is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, kinda. Anyway, that's a good game. Your next pick?
Well, and by my next pick, I start to think that we've talked about all the games that I played because I played Revive so many times. I'm just kind of quickly, I guess I did play Woodcraft a lot on the cruise. That was sort of my second game of the cruise. I've talked about Woodcraft before. You are building up wooden items, fulfilling contracts. It is a game in which it's a 14 round game, and 14 rounds is about 2 rounds too few. So you always feel like you don't have enough time to do everything. It has that same, we talked about the tension with
Mm-hmm.
Endless Winter, where it was a little bit
Mm-hmm.
on the loose side. This one's maybe on the tight side just a bit. Interesting mechanism with this wheel where you're selecting an action and it kind of moves around and it makes the other actions better. If you sort of do one action too many times in a row, it'll make the other actions much more powerful. So it kind of encourages you to balance or not. You kind of do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Fulfilling contracts, building up your little wood shop. There's a lot of things you can do and focus on. I really enjoy this game. I taught it a few times, and the one thing I don't like is that the game length is measured by a track, and if you forget to move that track marker up, the game will be a round or two too long. So it's a
I
little
see.
fragile there. There's no sort of internal mechanism to count the turns. But by shaming myself publicly, I was able to force myself into remembering to move that tracker along. A good game, one that I quite enjoy.
Okay, that's something I definitely should try at some point because of the designer
Sure.
and the publisher. Okay, so I can do several picks if you don't have anything to
Yeah,
talk
I
about. But
think I think the only other one that because I played one or two games several times, so we're kind of at the end. Unless no, I do have some post cruise games I can throw in there.
okay, well, let's go with the next one till we're out of them. My next one is a game that I should have tried and I tried because of the theme. Because I am also by my um, scholar grade a composer, and this game is called Lacrimosa. It's about a uh, not a life of Mozart. uh, It's about something, you know. It's not particularly a thematic game, but it's like basically you are different. You are hiring different composers to finish the Requiem of Mozart that he didn't finish, as everybody knows this. I hope the story behind it, but let's not dive into the theme too much. This is a Euro game. You do
The theme,
Euro
you have to do
stuff.
a lot of work to find the theme there.
I mean, I tried, and when I explained the game, so I played it 2 times. So the first time you explained it to me, the second time I explained the game, and I could find or thematically explain some things. I tried my best to add to the theme. But anyway, so there are basically three different parts of this game, like sorts of mini games, let's say. Yeah, the
Hmm.
central part is you're moving this Mozart, and he's dead, by the way, but by
You're moving his
the
body around.
you're moving this body around, and the thing is that this one thematically, how they explained it, it's like it's the memories of Mozart visiting the different cities of Austria and Germany and so on, and you're moving that human around, just getting some bonuses. That's it.
Hmm.
So this upper part is where you can buy the cards. I'm gonna get back to the cards, and this lower part is where you are placing those notes, the eighth note and the 16th note, in order to create a majority of the symbols and score some extra points at the end of the game and get also some extra tiles which give you bonuses or ongoing resource production, blah blah blah. It's very much a mechanical thing, a little bit hard to explain, but explainable. And now the central part is this, or you have your own board where you manage your resources. What I like, first of all, whatever resources you collect, they will be reset by the end of the round if you will not spend them. I like that, but some of the resources are permanent as well. I mean, for me, maybe I would have made it more streamlined and just made the resources that are just resources that are permanent and not, do a lot of that sidetracking thing. But uh, the other part is that you are, as you can see, there are those, I don't know what the pockets for the cards, and the cards have the upper part and the lower part. The upper part is the action you can do. The lower part is the resources that you will generate next round, not this round. And when you buy a card, you will replace the card with the lower part with the new card. So you're constantly upgrading. It's a little bit of that deck building, at least more than in Heat. And so you're kind of building up your deck and doing all those actions. I like this idea of upper part cards and lower part cards. It's like in Revive, but in Revive, both of them do kind of the same thing. In like Remosa, they are completely different things. One is the income for the next round, and the other one is actions you can do right away. Everything else is your dry Euro, mechanical Euro goodness out there. Yeah. And for some reason, I enjoyed the game. I'm not keen on the looks of the game. It's fine. It doesn't look amazing, but it's not Clemens Franz art, which I don't like at all. It's some other person's, yeah, art. Anyway, yeah, it's. I'm not a fan of those bigger tiles, city tiles, which give you points.
Hmm.
This is just some extra that should have not been there. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I like Lacrimosa. I don't love it. It was not. It didn't blow me away like I was hoping it would. Maybe I found it looked a little bit boring. I don't know. And the rules do not help it. The way that things are organized is a little bit
Yeah, there's
rough
some
in that rule
bad.
book. So anyway, it's an okay game. It's a fine experience. It's one that I have enjoyed.
I mean, I'm thinking about buying this one for me because I really enjoyed it and because of the theme. Just a unique piece in my collection. But
Okay,
we'll see. We'll see.
that works.
Let's get to the
All
next
right.
one.
The next one's going to be a short one for me. I've only played it one time, and I'm not sure that I will repeat the procedure. Uh, this is a game that we played right after the cruise. It had arrived, and it's a game called Bot Factory. And Bot
Ooh,
Factory is
such an amazing game.
supposed to be a light version of Kanban, and what it was really boring. It was both too short and too long. We did play a rule wrong, but I'm not convinced that playing that rule correctly would have made the game any
It
more
would not.
fun.
It would
It
not.
was basically you go around, you put your worker down in one spot, you use this resource to uh, you can trade this in for that, place these tokens out, get a bot, eventually get a contract, and eventually complete the contracts and score points. And it was just really not great. It was not a game that really had any joy in it, and it is not nearly as good as Kanban. So the problem with this game is the people who like heavy Vital Lacerda games will hate this, and the people who don't like heavy Vital Lacerda games will not play it. So, and it's just, but it does not meet either camp. It is not as bad as Mercado de Lisboa, but
Hmm.
only
Hmm.
slightly.
I mean, this is the only Vital Lacerda game I've played. Agree. Very boring. Nothing going at all. And even with that rule, so the rule we skipped. It should have opened some of the spaces earlier for us, but it wouldn't really change the feel of the game and what we did
It just
during the
might have been
game.
a little shorter. That's all.
And easier to do. But yeah, it was,
Mhm.
and it even with that, it felt a bit too short. It's like at some point you just end the game.
It can end suddenly,
Why?
and it was just not a fun game.
Yeah,
This one is unfortunately it's getting one of these.
yeah, not at all. Boring games. Skip that. All right, we agree at least on one game. Um,
We do, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yes. So for my next one, I want to talk about the game that I was looking forward to playing because I do like King of Tokyo. I don't love it
Mm.
anymore, but I
What
like
could
it.
it be? What could it be?
And this one is King of Monster Island, which is, like everybody says, King of Tokyo co-op.
Yeah.
And I feel, for me, King of Monster Island is a better version of King of Tokyo. I like this more than King of Tokyo. I
Okay.
proclaim. It's the thing is that in King of Tokyo, the biggest struggle that I had, like, so King of Tokyo is very basic game. So for those who wanted heavier games, I wouldn't play it with them. They wouldn't like it that much, or they didn't like it that much.
Okay.
With players that are new to the gaming world, I try to play this game and it kind of works, but the problem are the cards and those abilities. There's a lot of text, there's a lot of things going on within those cards. So it's like this game is somewhere in between, and
Hmm.
they didn't like it because they're like just rolling dice, and I don't understand that power, whatever. Here it's a co-op, so I can break that barrier easier. I can just explain the power to you, and we cooperate on this one anyway. It's so much easier.
Hmm.
Um, Eventually, it's just the monster and their minions are moving around and doing bad stuff, and you're trying to kill the monster and the minions by doing good stuff. What I like, and though it's a convoluted rule, it's a little bit. When I read this in the rulebook, it felt a little bit weird. But you can freely reserve dice on the board or take them
Yes.
from the board if they were reserved previously. So it's basically like just sometimes I'm just gonna put them here, or I'm just gonna take them off the board and use them on my turn. So it was written poorly in the rulebook,
It
and
was.
it was much easier when I just started playing. It's like just you can reserve any number of dice, like almost like as instead you reserve only 3 dice at most. I don't know, but that's what I
Well, yeah,
concluded.
because there's only so many dice in the game.
Yeah. Anyway, uh, everything else is just the monster has its own thing going on as well. So the more points it gets, uh, the more bad and the more powerful it gets. And you're doing the same, you can get some of the extra powers and stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not something
Okay.
I probably need to own. I'm not sure about that, but it's something I would not say no to playing.
Ah. Okay. There you go.
King of Monster Island. What about you?
And I guess this will be my last one because if we're counting the post cruise games here, This is a game that I was really looking forward to. It's a game I pre ordered years ago. It was supposed to be a follow up to one of my very favorite games of all time. And this
Oh,
game is Twilight Struggle. I think it's Twilight
Red
Struggle
Sea.
Red Sea. Red Sea, okay, the Cape of Africa, Horn of Africa, something like that.
Just Red Sea. Wow.
It is a short version of Twilight Struggle. It's supposed to be a lunchtime version of Twilight Struggle, and it could be. It's supposed to be about half an hour long, and yeah, it's about right if you know what you're doing. But what it is it's a 2-round Twilight Struggle, and it's on a
Mm-hmm.
much smaller board and it's a much smaller scale, and because of that, it's not really very good. Twilight
Mm-hmm.
Struggle itself is a captivating game largely because the decisions you make matter. When I play a card for its
Mm-hmm.
event, in many cases it is leaving the game forever. And if I know I'm going to be reshuffling that deck 3 times, timing when I take something out versus leaving things in so that I can have access to
Mm-hmm.
them later, or sort of prevent my opponent because he knows I haven't seen this, hasn't been seen. There's all this sort of double think, and these consequences of your decisions matter over the scope of a 10-round game. But in this game, nothing you do matters. Why not always play the card for its event? Because it's never going to come back anyway. And it was all of the struggle and none of the joy. I really disliked this game. Twilight Struggle's a 10 out of 10. This is at best a 5.
Mm-hmm. So, um, when we talked about this, I do understand that Twilight Struggle and Twilight Red Sea are different games, and you like one much more than the other. But do you agree that if we take out everything else, just the mechanisms, the basic mechanisms are the same, are they?
The
The
sort
tug
of
of
core
war. It's a tug of war game,
I
is it?
mean, that's an oversimplification. There is sort of for the way that it scores is, but what I would say is the core mechanism of playing a card and making the decision of do I want to use it for its event or do I want to use it for a certain number of action points. That is the same mechanism,
And placing
and
influence on
that
the board.
and placing the influence on the board and trying to
Yeah,
control the areas.
and tug
You
of
sort
war
of
thing.
this
Yeah,
feels like the demo version at a con is really what this feels like. It feels like, okay, I want you to sort of understand kind of how the rules work, and
yeah.
then you go home and play the full game.
So, in that case, so my opinion about this game, it's like I don't need to play the Twilight Struggle, the big Twilight Struggle, ever. So, as you said, it's like a demo. I'm glad I tried this one because I can see that as if we take this simplification, this is a tug of war. You play cards, you use the cards for that particular reason. If we just take the mechanisms themselves, yeah, without the soul of the game, whatever else, I don't like these mechanisms at all. I don't like tug of war games at all. None. It's just 0 out of 10 for me. This mechanism tug of war category of games.
Yeah, and I think you're
And
oversimplifying that. The tug of war is only in the scoring, right? That is how the scoring track moves, in
uh
that I gain a point and you gain a point. Really, the core
no,
mechanisms of the game is the card-driven gameplay.
tug of war
If
is
you're
the
focusing just
influence. Tug
that
of
that's
war is the influence.
No, that's
It's
just
like I
influence.
take over
That's
the
the
place,
area
you take over the
control
place.
aspect of the game, and the tug of war is the scoring. The area
Uh,
control is the influence, where you're trying to
mm,
control and influence different places. But the core mechanism of the game is this card
then it's
driven.
area
I
majority sort
have
of thing.
this. It's definitely an
It's
area. Absolutely an area majority. It is not a tug of war game other than the scoring.
I disagree. It's tug of war. You
All
can
right, you're
say
wrong.
yeah, it's including that, but yeah, here we disagree. But anyway, I do understand your love for Twilight Struggle, but yeah, I found this thing as a mechanism not interesting at all. Very
This
boring.
game was not interesting. This game is a total, absolute hard pass.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, but I could see that playing Twilight Struggle would not change my opinion at all. I can be 100% sure. It's just my opinion. Anyway, but yeah, let it be for everybody, whatever they like to play. All right, so uh, I do have just two games left that were new to me, and one of them is Cat in the Box, which is a trick taking game,
Hmm.
which you taught us. Um,
Sort of, while I was doing something else.
yes. So look, I wanted to try Cat in the Box because everybody's saying that this is a unique and different and interesting trick taking game. And as you know, as Kyle knows, as everybody who's watched us over the years knows, I don't like trick taking games. This is not this is one of my least favorite mechanisms because I don't know, I just don't like that mechanism. It's just how it is. It's nothing against that mechanism as it is. Um, Now the idea of oh, by the way, as I understood, we played something wrong. I later on watched
You
another
might have.
video,
I wasn't really involved in the game. I was doing something else.
but it wasn't like something that would have changed the game drastically to change my opinion on the game. So for me, it's take it or leave it because it's still a trick taking game. But I like the idea of you are basically blocking the color that you can play, and that any card is any color you want it to be. And it's like with the Turing machine. This felt more like a puzzle and activity and less like a game for me. I don't know why, but yeah, it's just how I felt about this.
And I really enjoy it. I think it might have been a better experience if I had played it with you, but I was otherwise preoccupied when you were playing it, so I was unable to be very very much involved in your game.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I enjoy the game. I enjoy its concept. I find it to be a unique twist on trick taking. If you don't like trick taking, though, this is not going to change your mind.
Yeah, that's the thing.
This is
Most
very
likely
much a trick taking game.
it's a trick taking game, so that I wouldn't like it anyway. If I would play it completely correctly, it wouldn't change my mind. But it's something that if you like trick taking games, I would encourage to try because it has an interesting twist, in my opinion. Okay, so the last one that you can also talk about with me is Clank Catacombs. This is the
That's true.
first
We
time
did
I
play
played
that.
it. I played
Hmm.
it with you. So Clank Catacombs is is Clank. It's
It
the
is.
same Clank. The
It's
only
Clank.
different. Okay,
Welcome back.
there are some things that are different, kinda like prisoners, etc. But it all feels kind of this, like the prisoners feel the same. That now the keys, you collect the keys separately to unlock some of the paths and unlock prisoners. But prisoners are basically giving you the same boost that major secrets would, or anything like that. They could have just implemented them into major secrets, whatever. I don't know. It's the same. It's same old Clank, but now you are exploring the board. You
That's
are
true.
creating the board.
Yep.
I like it less than other Clank. My favorite Clank is Clank Legacy, but it's a legacy version. I think I would rather play maybe not the base Clank, but maybe the Clank with the expansion or something like that, or Clank Legacy, my finished copy of Clank Legacy. I am not sure I need to own Clank Catacombs because it doesn't add anything new beside that creating a board, which you might say each time you create a unique board. Cool. But on the other hand, it's random. And like we had it sorry, it was just a bad luck. But you ended up on the side of the board where all the artifacts. You got the tiles with artifacts, all of them. I got none of the tiles with the artifacts. I went to the other side of the board, and it's cool because if we would just went to the same side, we would just explore less. It's I felt like it's cool to place new tiles to explore. That's the whole gimmick about this client catacombs. But I felt like this lack of drawing, this lack of tiles that you put out, does take away from the whole experience of Clank.
Okay.
where you just go in, grab the artifact, grab some other stuff, mess around a little bit, and go out and score a ton of points. And everything else is just your clank. So I
Yeah.
wasn't enamored with this idea as I felt like I would be, because this kind of exploration didn't feel fun for me. And I love exploration, love exploration.
Yeah. And for me, this is just Clank. Like you said, it rates exactly the same as all the other
Oops.
Clanks do for me, which I really like Clank. And this is a version of Clank I also enjoy. There will be times when I will pull out base Clank. I do think I like base Clank a little bit more just because I have a couple of different expansion boards for it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit more variety. But this is one that I would also consider playing, right? I mean, if I feel like having
Mm-hmm.
a Clank adventure, it might be in space, it might be old legacy, it might be catacombs, or it might be basic on the spider board or the mummy board or whatever it happens to be. They're all kind of the same to me. In fact, they're all exactly the same to me,
Mm.
and I like them all equally.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll just stick to my Clank Legacy board, and that's I'm fine with that. I
I
don't
will
play it
say
that much.
you probably don't, unless you've played, whatever Clank set you have to death. I don't know that this is one that you absolutely need because it really is the same rules. I mean, there's a couple of
Yeah,
small minor variations. It's just
yeah,
like an expansion for Clank.
yeah, yeah. When you taught me this, you just taught me. You didn't really teach it to me because I already just let's just
You
play.
already knew
Here
the
we go.
rules, and
Yeah,
we went over the new stuff when it came out.
yeah, yeah. I yeah. That's that. I agree. I agree. And you can always choose the one if you want only to own one particular system of Clank. You can on whatever you want. They're all great. This one is also this is totally fine. It's fun. It's Clank.
It is. It will not change your
I
opinion on
think I
Clank.
I, I gave it like 8 out of 10 because it's Clank. I
Mm,
still enjoyed it very much as a Clank. But Clank Legacy, I think is 10 out of 10 for me. So
okay. And I rate them all a 10 out of 10. So,
okay, okay, yeah, that's fine. Anyway, that was it. So just briefly, we also played Summer Wars Second Edition, which for me was the first time I played it, but I'll just put it under Summer Wars.
yeah.
Few small differences in rules, how you get the magic. I like how you get the magic now through
Mhm.
killing enemies and not through like you just mark it down and not just taking the cards or something like that. I don't remember. It was
That's true. You have a
weird. It
track
was
instead of managing a separate pile.
yeah, yeah. That was good. I played Texas Showdown. This is the trick taking game I enjoy.
It
For
is a good
whatever
trick take.
reason, I enjoy it. I don't know why. I played Empire's Age of Discovery, so that's great because I could kind of compare my Mosaic and Empire's, two big games from Glen Rover. They were different games, and yeah, Mosaic was no go. No, it was okay, and Empires I still love to the core. I also played Homesteaders. I played Switch and Signal 2 times and enjoyed it. So each time I pull out an older game that I've already played, it's because I teach it to somebody who has never played that game before. So each of those instances was with people who have never played it, so I can show them a cool game. We played Paleo, we played Lost Ruins of Arnak, Honey Buzz, Anachrony, even Steampunk Rally Fusion, The Green Masquerade, and of course we played Silver
Of course,
in the airport at,
as
at the
usual.
at the airport. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that were all the games.
There you go. Lots of games, lots of plays, lots of new stuff, lots of old stuff. A great time.
Overly, Kyle. Yeah. What's your overall opinion on this cruise? Just
Oh,
briefly.
I always love the Dice Tower Cruise. The Dice Tower Cruise, what it does for me, right? It lets me play games nonstop. There's no pressure to shop, no pressure to do everything else. And also, my food is taken care of. I can just go upstairs, get something quickly, and come back down. It is the time when I can play the most games per trip, per convention, more than anything else. I don't get off the ship. I don't do anything else. I go there for the games, and I go in heavy and hard on them. And I
And you
always have a
can
great time.
play a game that you like. For example, Revive was your You always have this kind of one game
I
that
have
I
the
mean
game of the
comes.
cruise, right? That I just love. It's usually something that I know is new and hard to find, and I'll bring it because I know that people will want to play it, and it's always one that I enjoy anyway. And I can really go in deep and kind of really
Yeah,
learn and experience a game. And that was revived this year. It was Ark Nova and Boon Lake last year.
yeah.
Whatever game it is, this is my sixth Dice Tower cruise, 6 of 6, and there have been
Five
six of
for
them.
me.
So five for
Yeah,
you because you missed the first one. But it's a thing that I will keep going back to because I always have a good time with it.
and the Pavlova night. Don't forget the
No,
Pavlova
you
night.
gotta love. I mean, the food is good. It's cruise food, but I love pavlovas. In fact, we're having one next week. I'm going to try making it.
Make Pavlova yourself.
I'm gonna try
It's
it,
it's
and
hard
we're
to make it.
having.
Hmm.
Well, Candace and some other friends are coming over for Drag Race. We're starting to watch Drag Race together on Friday nights, and
Okay.
so I'm going to try to make pavlovas so that we can
Hmm.
have the full experience.
Nice. I hope you will succeed in your endeavor.
Well, I'm going to try it once before, and then if it's a failure, I won't do it.
And of course, Victor had his Candy of the Sea and Lobster Night.
Always.
That people love lobster nights.
Cruise is fun. If you like cruises, then you'll like this. If you don't like cruises, like me, I don't really like cruises. Cruises are boring for me. Uh,
They are.
but
I agree.
but this one is great because it has what I want to do on the cruise is right there and ready for me.
Yeah, it has enough of that thing of that hobby that you love. For me as well, I agree with you. I'm the same. So if I would be just on that cruise doing the cruise stuff, I would be bored night two, because I'm not the person who likes to be on that moving vehicle and visit the touristy ports where everybody tries to sell you the same stuff all over again. Um, Look, they're trying to feed their families, but yeah, with that extra thing going on, I feel like it's cool.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
a gathering of friends, gathering of people you see once a year, that's also great.
it's the only time I see you in living color, and
Yeah, yeah.
and it's sort of become an annual tradition and one I very much enjoy. We're already signed up for next year, so there you go.
Yeah, I really enjoy. I'm really enjoy visiting Kyle and doing this pre-cruise thing and after cruise thing. Though after the cruise, I wasn't feeling that well, but still managed. We still managed to play at least 4 games, I think, after the cruise. So
We did manage to play some games, so
yeah,
and you loved all of them. You got to take the role of I'm trying a game for the first time, which is always dangerous. I
yes,
never make
it is.
guarantees. If it's a brand new game that I've just read the rules for, it might be awful, and sometimes it is, like Bot Factory. Anyway,
Oh, Blood Factory was awful. Yes.
that was really bad. Uh, oh well, win some, lose some.
So everybody, thank you for watching. Daniel, thank you for being here.
Sticking with
Always
us.
being here. Speaking with us, yeah. So we went. I went for your comments. Yeah, yeah. I can see. So yeah, different tastes. So it's cool that like Kyle has a totally different taste. He likes different things than me. So we can argue about that. Uh, that's cool. That's cool. That's what makes it different and interesting to listen to. I hope so. Anyway, thank you, and we'll see you another
On
time.
Wednesday. Yes.
Oh, on Wednesday for you, and
And some other time for you.
yeah, another week
All right.
for me and you.
Great.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.